Welcome to another edition of the Kendrick Loves to Brand podcast. We are here with the president of Creative Programs of ABS-CBN and the host of G Diaries, Mr. Ernie Lopez. Welcome to the show, Ernie.
Thank you, Kendrick. Thank you for inviting me.
Nice. How's quarantine life treating you? I would like to first say congratulations to your engagement.
Thank you.
So how
Quarantine life has been good. I got a marriage proposal in, and I actually got we did a messenger wedding.
Oh wow.
Um, so I just called up a pastor friend of mine from Singapore. It doesn't have legal bearing, but I said I wanted it, in the eyes of God. Dapat mag-asawa na kami. We're together here in lockdown, so I wanted that to be set right. So I got a marriage proposal in, and I got married. So it's been good.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah,
Was it part of the
thank you.
plan prior to the lockdown, or was this like the lockdown sort of making the timing more urgent?
I've been planning to marry her for a very long time, and I've talked to her about it several times, but she always turned me down. And my psychotherapist said you have to give her a marriage proposal party. And I said, when am I ever gonna get the time to do that? I mean, so busy with work and maintaining my relationship with her and my children, and I never had the time. But when we got the lockdown, I said, how am I gonna organize a party now? I thought I would organize a proposal party, ask one of her friends to do it. We get to do it, but lockdown happened. A funny thing was, I actually had the time to start planning and thinking about it and getting down to the details. And it was her birthday last April 9. And because it was her birthday, I knew she would have a lot of Zoom parties. And I just said, okay, I will propose to her in public. I proposed to her many times in person, just the two of us. She always says no. So I needed a ring. I needed all these things. And when I planned to do it during one of her Zoom birthday parties, and that's how it worked out. It wasn't really all planned that way from the beginning, but things sort of fell into place little by little.
Nice. Well, congratulations to that. It's
Thank you.
definitely better to be in quarantine with our loved ones. So it's great to hear also that you guys got married. And hopefully when this is all over, you guys can have the celebration and the party with friends. Uh,
Yes, yes.
so let's go back to like the very beginning. I mentioned earlier that you're the president of Creative Programs Inc. And before we started recording, you were actually talking to me a little bit about the subsidiary that you're running. Can you tell us more exactly like what does Creative Programs Inc. Do within the whole ABS-CBN ecosystem?
Well, Creative Programs Inc. originally was the company, the subsidiary that was put up to take care of all of the cable channels. So we had Mix, Cinema One. Originally it was Lifestyle Channel, but now it's the Metro Channel. We also have there were the other sports channels. So all of the cable channel. And what happened was we merged CPI with API. API was the other subsidiary I was originally handling, which is ABS-CBN Publishing Inc. that had all the magazines. So we basically merged two very, very challenged platforms, cable and print,
And print.
and hope that two negatives would make a positive. So what has actually happened is, of all of the ABS platforms, we are the ones that are unaffected by the broadcast cancellation of shutdown, because cable is unaffected by it, and neither is print. But what we've been doing with CPI is, once we merged API and CPI, we knew that the whole strategy was to put all of our content on digital. So we've been basically migrating all of our print content to the digital platform, and we have also been working on managing, uh, seeing how the digital platforms can help our cable platforms. Like the very interesting thing that I've seen happening is Jeepney TV, which is basically the very, very old TV shows of ABS-CBN, the really ancient ones. We put it on this channel, and it's doing very well. And it's doing well primarily with the people who used to watch it a long time
Mm.
ago, because lumang-luma
Nostalgia.
na to.
Yeah.
The funny thing though is that makes me laugh is online the people that we are reaching with Jeepney TV are the very young, and they
Oh.
are getting exposed to Jeepney TV programming because of the memes that our staff has been making up. They've been making memes that they put on YouTube, that they put on Facebook. Tawang-tawang mga kabataan. You know, by the way, should I be speaking in Tagalog or English? What
It's
do
okay.
you
Yeah.
prefer?
Any. We can do Taglish. We can do English.
Okay. I'm not sure what your target market is. It's like when I'm on rec, I'm also on we have another show that just launched on iWant TV called Rec
Oh
Hunters.
yeah, I watched that.
So I'm the host of. You watched it? How'd you
Yeah.
like it?
I like it. The first, especially the first episode, I was so intrigued. It's actually one of the things I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry to put pressure on you and asking you if you like my show on your show. I mean, you can't say no, right?
Of
But
course.
yeah, we when I'm on Rec Hunters, I'm basically talking English. But when I'm on G Diaries, I'm basically talking Tagalog.
Tagalog.
So because of the different markets. But yeah, we're reaching young people on Jeepney TV because of the memes that the staff makes, and that exposes them to our shows on Jeepney TV, and vice versa. But I just find it so intriguing how different platforms reach different people in different ways. Um, so now we basically have a mega brand, a super brand, which is Metro. So
Mhm.
it used to just be in print.
Mhm.
Now it also has its own channel, the Metro channel, and then its own website, metro.style. And we have all of the different incarnations of Metro on all of the different social media platforms like Facebook and um, Instagram and YouTube. Mm.
One of our brands
Um,
actually has
you
worked
you
with
yeah.
Metro a lot.
I'm sorry.
Our beach blanket. We've actually been working with Metro for the past few years now. During summer, well, this year some summer parties have been canceled, but pretty much
Yes.
over the previous years we've been partners with Metro Lifestyle for the beach events that you guys throw.
Okay. Yeah. What were you doing for them?
We have a beach brand called Lagu. It's a beach blanket that's sand repellent. So
Ah,
we're usually part of the VIP gifts.
really?
Yes,
A sand repellent beach
beach
blanket? I've never
blanket.
seen that. I'd like to. I wanna when I start going to the beach again. I wanna get one of
Oh
those.
sure, I'll
What do you
send.
mean? The sand doesn't
The sand will
the
just
sand
fall
doesn't
right
stick
off.
to it.
Yes,
So
it's actually
it's
quite,
like a
yes. Sorry, it's actually quite popular also with divers like yourself, or surfers,
yeah,
because you can put your gear like while
yeah,
you're gearing up on the beach. Like it,
yeah.
you won't get sand all over all your gear.
So parang banig. The sand just got comes off, but it's still absorbent
Yeah, it's absorbent.
for
It's
fluids.
it's lightweight, so you can use it to just lie down on the beach, do sunbathing, but and then afterward,
Wow.
pagpag lang, all the sand will fall right off.
Well, I hope that we can have a second season of Rec Hunters, and I hope you can be one of the sponsors.
Sure. Well, I'll talk to Ella.
Yeah.
So yeah, going back to you mentioned G Diaries earlier. So you've taken over as the host of G Diaries. How what has
Yeah.
that meant to you to be able to continue the show that your sister started?
Well, it's very emotional for me, and if I break into tears while I'm talking to you now, I'm also very mababaw ang luho. To my dad, and when it comes to my sister, talagang wala akong magawa dyan. You know, it's very, very meaningful for me because, you know, when we started doing the show, they asked me, can we change the name of the show to E Diaries? I said, never. We can never change the name because G Diaries is a show that she started. It bears her name. And the only reason I'm doing it is because of her. If it were not her, I wouldn't be doing this show. I mean, I believe in all of the advocacies that the show is trying to promote, but the main reason I'm doing it is for her. And I do believe in her advocacies. And it's really an honor and privilege to be able to continue the show. It started when she, you know, every once in a while I would pitch in when she would go out of the country. But then when she got sick, you know, me to come in and pitch in more often. And yeah, and finally, when she was really sick, they told me, please just take over the show. And it's been very rewarding. I had to learn a lot. I mean, even like now, we are still continuing the show, even though we are not broadcast on air anymore. We still broadcast on, we still come out on Facebook. And every week I shoot, and I shoot from my house. I had to learn how to use a gimbal. I have to learn how to set the camera up so it's eye level. I have to learn how to do two camera setups, even though I only have an iPhone and an iPad. Kung ano-anong ginagamit namin, nakakatawa. And my Michelle has been the cameraman. She's the one who handles also the teleprompter because before I had to memorize everything. When I worked with your Ella's
My sister-in-law.
yeah, sister-in-law,
Yeah.
She always makes me memorize things in Rec Hunter. I can't, wala, kailangan memoryado. So I'm like, oh God, okay, it's good for my brain. But some of the scripts in ABS are so long, and there's so many that if I have to memorize everything, I can do it, but it takes me so long. So they started making me use a teleprompter, which is on the phone of Michelle. So she has to hold the gimbal and the teleprompter, her other phone in the other hand, and so I had to learn a lot of different things that I actually enjoy it. And we've gotten better at it. We're learning how to do it faster. And but the nice thing is, in the process of the show, I I feel like I'm so much closer to my sister because I start before the lockdown. I got to meet a lot of the people that she touched. A lot of because she was able to help, and you know, I get to see what she's done, and it's amazing. And I get to work with the people she worked with, and that's really really a privilege and a blessing because these people, I don't know, it's like a church. I mean, you're like a magkakapatid talaga kayo, kapamilya talaga, and you work together. You're working with people who, of course, we need a job to give us money to put food on the table, but that's not why these people are working. They're really working there to help other people, and that's um, I, I don't think you can really put a price on that.
Correct. Speaking of family, um, I've seen in a couple of interviews you've done in the past. You mentioned the challenge of growing up in you know the Lopez clan. You know, the pressure of maybe being, you know, the part of the family that owns ABS-CBN. Can you touch on that a little bit in terms of how you and Gina, you know, grew up with sort of that, you know, pressure from the family?
Um, you know, Gina is she's a very peculiar character, and not a lot of people know this, but she got involved in Ananda Marga at a very young age when she was a teenager. And in Ananda Marga, the missionary group she was a part of, it, Hindu sect, um, she didn't live like she was one of us. She would ride the jeep and have no money, and when it was time for her to pay, she would beg from the people beside her for pamasahe. And when she was in Africa, there were times where she would sleep on concrete, not on a bed with a pillow, but natutulog siya sa semento. And she was clearly not attached to material things. She really was driven by excuse me, she was driven by a higher purpose. And she really, you could see she didn't care what her family name was. And it's funny, we're the two members of the family who sort of had those kind of experiences. 'Cause when I was also a teenager, I did missionary work. I I went to Leyte and Pangasinan, San Carlos, 1984, before Marsha, even before People Power, and I went and did Leyte and Pangasinan, and in Leyte, the place I went to had no electricity, no running water. I got water from a well to take a bath, and at night, walang ilaw, gagamit ko ng Petromax. I don't know if you remember Petromax. Uh, so we were the two who sort of had this kind of experience where we were given the opportunity to live not in a way that our family name would, not with people with our family name didn't really usually live like that, but we were both given that opportunity, and I feel happy about it because I know how the other side lives. um, and um, we I'm sorry, I'm already getting lost in my trend of thought about our name. Some people, I know that whenever I brought someone led to my house, they would go, "Oh my God, what kind of place is this?" And they would see how we lived, and um, our childhood was really sheltered, and we were well off. But I'm very thankful that our life experiences have helped us to realize that a lot of people don't live the same way we do, and it is our responsibility to help others. Um, I don't think we were put on this planet to just enjoy luxury. I
Mm.
enjoy luxury. Gina's enjoyed luxury. We've had a lot of it, but I don't think that any of us were put on this planet purely to enjoy luxury and pleasure. I think we were put on this planet to help those around us who are less. I'm so thankful for that, but I know that I am accountable and responsible to help others who don't have as much. I wish I could do. I'm trying and doing my best to to do more. And I think that my siblings are of the similar philosophy. I mean, I repeatedly tell my children, I said that money and popularity are not goals. These are only tools so that you can help other people.
Mm.
Young people nowadays, that's their goal, to be rich and famous. But I tell my children again and again, that cannot be the goal of your life. It's like the funny thing is when you make money and popularity your goal, it becomes your god, and you do that. You try and feed that. The funny thing though is if you don't make it your goal, you just use it as your tool. God make sure that you have what you need to do what you need to do. Most people want to be rich and popular so that they can be happy. But in happiness, I don't make that the goal. You know, I notice if I make the goal helping others, I have everything I need, and I'm happier than I even possible. So the family name is nice to have, but what's more important is how we use that name to help other people around us. And my dad kind of lived that kind of a life, so he didn't have to he didn't have to preach it or give us a sermon or teach it. It's the way he lived his life. Even when he was in San Francisco in exile, he didn't have much money. He would constantly take me to soup kitchens, and he would mop the floors. He would clean the feed the homeless. We didn't have much when we were in San Francisco, but he still found a way to help others.
So seeing that, how did that influence like what course you take in college, and like your early years, your early exposure to corporate work? Like how did that influence those early years of post college?
Well, I actually went to Bible school for 3 years. And then I went to UP and took philosophy because I thought I was going to be a lawyer. But when I did my thesis in philosophy, I said, is this what a lawyer is going to be like, doing a thesis every day? I said, forget it. I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. Di ko kakayanin to. So after I graduated from college, my first corporate experience was my dad made me work at PCI Bank. So I was going around all the different departments of the bank to become aware of, what bank operations were like. We had PCI Bank before. But after about 9 months of working there, my dad took a look at me and said, this isn't working out for him. And he took me out and he put me in a magazine called Guide Magazine. It was a cable guide. It eventually got called Sky Guide. So it was a magazine for cable subscribers and cable. And you didn't have the schedules online. There was no internet back then. So that's the first magazine I handled. But actually, before that magazine, I forgot. Me in a tabloid called Diario Patrol. We had TV Patrol. We had Radio Patrol. So he said Diario Patrol. So we tried that for a while, but it was a really tough business. It didn't last. So yung Diario Patrol, naging Diario. Circulating that magazine was, I didn't realize how bloody it was because the other tabloids by Diario Patrol that they would tell their carriers, if you bring that magazine, kung dala mo yung Diario Patrol, tanggal na kami. So they would blackmail the carriers. It's a really tough day. Magkakasuntukan yan, magkakapatayan yan just for a tabloid. So we got out of that business, and then my dad saw a magazine company in Hong Kong that had several magazines. He said, okay, I want you to do this. And the first magazine we started out with was Guide Magazine. Then eventually he started purchasing a lot of different magazines like Food Magazine, Metro Magazine, Chalk, and the list goes on. And over time, however, even the magazine business has had to shift much of its content to digital.
And then you mentioned earlier, you already mentioned Rec Hunters. No? So sir, let's talk about that some more. What was the inspiration for the show?
I wasn't really even involved in the pitching of it or the development of it. They kind of brought me in late in the game. I think they were looking for a co-host for Wowie, and they were thinking of Mark Nelson or Rob Wilson. And when those names are thrown around, I think the producer said, di pwede yan, masyadong mahal yan, wala kaming budget niyan. And then I don't know how they thought of me because I guess they knew I was a diver. And then they said, yan, pwede yan kasi di ako binabayaran. So I guess they figured, oh, this is good, the co-host, libre yan. So I happen to be a certified diver. I'm actually a certified wreck and cave diver, a technical wreck and cave. So it worked out for them that I was already certified in those expertises. And they just kind of brought me on and were saying, could you be a co-host and maybe you could bring some of your advocacies to bear. And that's where it started.
So how long have you been as a certified diver? Like how did you get into diving in the first place?
I started diving in 1987. So that's 87. So 97, 2007, 2017, about 33 years. But I wasn't diving actively all the time, those 33 years. I had about two girlfriends before I got married were very much into diving. One was a dive master. The other one, I think, eventually became a technical diver. The other girlfriend also became a technical diver. And then my first marriage was to a girl who got me into technical diving and into technical cave and wreck diving. And then, yeah, I did a lot of diving in the early years of my marriage, my first marriage. And we kind of did everything. We would go diving in the Galapagos, go diving in Palau, go diving into Bataha, um, all over the country, all over the place. We really were hardcore diving addicts.
Was there ever a situation where like you found yourself in danger while diving during all those years?
Um, Although I get involved in sports that look very dangerous and look really reckless, I'm actually a very conservative and safe person, and I don't like to. Everything I do, I actually try and do it as safely as I can. I want to live. I don't want to die. And in diving, um, I'm trying to think of what were the worst situations. Um, I remember one. I was not in danger, but I remember. I wonder. I don't know if I can tell this story because the guy I'm talking about, mapahiya. But I've been diving with people who were supposed to be instructors, and they were inside a wreck leading us, and the guy got lost. I knew where I was. So when he ended up in a dead end, he kind of panicked and said, he didn't really outright panic, but you could see, he said, you could tell he was lost. He didn't know where he was. I knew where we were. So I knew how to get out, and he just, we found our way out. I mean, in wreck diving, if it is a wreck that can get heavily silted, you go in with a line. You tie a line outside and you tie the line inside all over the place so that even if your eyes are closed, you just hold the line and you'll find your way out. But what are the other situations? The most vulnerable was not actually in a diving situation, but I was, because when you're diving, when you're underwater, you feel like you're one of the fish. I've been underwater with like hundreds of hammerheads, and they don't do anything. I've been in the water with dozens of sharks, and wala naman eh. And some of them are really big, and wala. But one time I was in Galapagos, and the dive master said, "Do you want to see dolphins?" I go, "Yes." So he said, "Jump quick, get into the chase boat." And we got on the chase boat and we're running after some dolphins we saw in the distance. And he warned us. He said, "Okay, when you jump in the water to swim with the dolphins, I just want you to remember that after the dolphins leave, they are going to be followed by some sharks. Because, the dolphins chase tuna and the sharks chase the leftover tuna that the dolphins don't eat. So, true enough, when I jump with the dolphins and the dolphins are gone, and then I take a look behind me and there's a shark there.
Wow.
And I didn't have my dive gear. I didn't have anything. I was just, with my mask and my fins, and I felt very vulnerable. But well, I didn't do anything. But I felt very vulnerable. And one other time I felt less than secure was diving in Galapagos. We were gonna dive in this place called the washing machine because the current is so strong, and there are whirlpools of water. And the dive master said, "Okay, when you go in this area, it is known for Galapagos sharks." And I said, "What the heck is a Galapagos shark? How will I know it's a Galapagos shark?" He goes, "Oh, don't worry, you'll know it when you see it." And I didn't know what that meant. So I drop into the water, really strong currents, and we get to the bottom. My sister's there ahead of me. And then I see this huge shark. The current it's like a typhoon underwater, and this shark is just like this, just hovering in the water, undisturbed by the strength of the current. And it was big and mean looking, like, oh, okay, that must be it.
Yeah.
But they didn't do anything to us. But I know that I've talked to other people if you're on the surface and you're surrounded by Galapagos sharks, then you're in trouble. I know people who've been attacked by Galapagos sharks. When you're on the surface, kasi you're really vulnerable. You look like you're fish food, especially when you swim, you splash around. I had a friend who she was surrounded by several Galapagos sharks, and they were attacking her.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually my biggest fear, to be eaten alive by sharks.
You know what? You don't have to be afraid. I've been in the water with all kinds of sharks. Wala. In fact, when you're a diver, naghahanap ka ng shark. In the Philippines, sharks are so afraid of people. The minute the dive master told me, okay, you want to see a shark? Okay, the minute I point one out, I'm gonna bang on my tank, and I'm gonna point. When I point, you have to look right away because it's gonna disappear. And that's how most of the shark sightings are here. They just disappear. But in places like Tubataha or Palau, there's dozens of them, you know, and wala naman ginagawa eh. It's mas nakakatakot pa nga aso kaysa pating.
I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions, but they said that sharks don't really attack people.
They don't.
I guess it's really just from our generation of growing up seeing, movies like Jaws. Diba? Or you feel like, if there's a shark, he's gonna bite.
Bloody.
Correct.
If you have blood on you, that's different. Because they get attracted to blood. So they say, the joke is, why do you have a dive knife? To protect yourself from the sharks? No. The dive knife is so you can stab your body and the sharks attack him and go away.
Nice. That's why the show Wreck Hunters, it's showing on iWant TV. It's a very nice show because for somebody like me who's always been fascinated with like underwater but afraid to try it myself, it's a way for me to experience it vicariously through what you guys did, going through the wrecks. That's always been fascinating to me, like that scene in Waterworld where Kevin Costner brings a girl down to like the underwater. So parang yung ganung type of scenes are very fascinating. I think for me, I'm not sure if I'll ever have the guts to try it myself, but at least I have Wreck Hunters to experience it in a way.
You can do it's called an intro dive. You don't even have to have any certification. Any dive master can take you down. Just put a mask on. They put the reg on you. They teach you how to clear your mask, and they can take you down to, I think, 60 or 40 feet. Wow. And you'll just experience what it's like. It's an introductory to diving thing, and it just takes like, I don't know, 20 minutes or even less. It's up to you. But it's a lot of people do that. They never even dive. They just nag-intro dive lang sila.
Mm-hmm. So maybe I'll take after the quarantine. Going back,
our country is so beautiful. I recommend you do it kasi ang ganda talaga ng. I mean, people from all over the world come to the Philippines of the diving here. My sister is in charge of the Verde Island Passage. That's a job that Gina threw on her lap. Wala choice. Said, take care of this. The Verde Island Passage is the center of biodiversity in the planet. And not only is it the center of biodiversity in the planet, it's the center of the center of the center of biodiversity in the planet. Wow. There are things in the Verde Island Passage you cannot see anywhere else in the entire world. And it's amazing. Wow. And Gina gave that job to my other sister, Berta. It's just kind of manhandled her. Didn't give her a choice. I said, you take care of this. Wala na siya magawa. So she's the one who's been taking care of preserving the Verde Island Passage and trying to keep that place protected. Because I truly believe that there are so many things in our country, in our habitat. A lot of the cures for cancer, for all of the different ills that we have are going to come from nature. And that's why we have to protect it. Gina has this slide on a list of items that foreign companies have harvested from the Philippines and gotten a patent on it, and endemic to our country. Tapos silang nakikinabang.
Wow.
diba? Um, that's why she wants to protect it and make sure that it is our countrymen that benefit from it, and the countrymen that need it the most. Dapat silang nakikinabang.
That's something that's very interesting for me to hear because like in my company in Antidote, we talked about, we always promote the idea of creating brands for the Philippines, to move
Yes.
away from this old mindset na we have raw materials, we have natural resources, but the old mindset kasi has always been, let's just export the raw materials to whoever wants to buy it, diba? In bulk. But the problem there, syempre, it's we're at the bottom of the food chain. We're just literally giving the raw
Yes.
materials. The companies all over the world are processing it, branding it, and then they sell it back to us and to other people in the world. So sila yung all the biggest benefit ng supply chain goes to their company. So what you mentioned is actually very interesting.
Yes.
Why do you think that is? In like, is it a lack of technology or like the expertise to actually mine and process these natural resources?
Well, I think there's many reasons for it, but at least like if you look at Boracay,
Mm-hmm.
um, there's a lot of money there in Boracay. There's a lot of investment. There's a lot of buildings there. But alam mo, ang pinakakawawa sa Boracay, the locals.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if it's a foreign businessman or a local businessman, they come in from Manila, and then there are people from Manila, because they want someone who's already skilled. My sister was so against that because she felt like whatever there is money there, but you have to be intentional in making sure that the locals benefit from it. Um, I look at Mindanao and I believe that one day Mindanao is really going to be a very, very big revenue earner for us. One day. Right now, it's been neglected. It's not nobody's paying attention to it, and there's just so much war there because the locals there they don't feel like they're taken care of. So that's why they do the things they're doing. The businesses that are there, many of the businesses do not make sure that the locals benefit. Um, but I believe that one day, the chaos that surrounds Mindanao right now, with all of the terrorists and all of the Abu Sayyaf, for me, they're basically protect the natural resources of that area for future generations. Wala
Mm-hmm.
gumagalaw dun kasi nakakatakot pumunta dun eh. But one day, hopefully, we have the right mindset and the right infrastructure and the right tools and technology so that we can actually take advantage of the place. Because when tourism picks up again, Mindanao is beautiful. It's breathtaking. It's just amazing. But I'm glad that it's not actually being touched now because I want us as a country, as a nation, to have the right mindset and attitude. We've seen Boracay and how it got
Mm-hmm.
mismanaged. The other tourist destinations now have seen that experience, so they're trying to learn from it. Um, the hotel owners are already thinking about, okay, we need to work together so that our waste management is done properly, so that the problems that we had in Boracay. Um, I think that we need to have we have to intentionally involve the locals wherever we are. The locals have to be the primary beneficiaries of whatever benefits we get. But of course, people from outside with the money will come in. But if they want to make it sustainable, they have to make sure they hire the locals.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I think that's really the mindset that's been missing. I think that the word that I like what you said is the being intentional. Because
Yes.
I think there are businesses that have good intentions, but then when it comes down to it, when it's not convenient, when it's not as maybe cost efficient, and then they sort of, I think the tendency is to not force the issue in terms of making sure the locals benefit. kumbaga. So I think
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
what you're saying, it's about being intentional and saying, look, it might not be as cost efficient. It might be more of a hassle in the short term to train and to really empower the locals, but you have to be willing to make that investment. Um, I'm curious now, as somebody who grew up in your family with with a last name that's one of the most powerful last names in the country. Growing up, was it something that like at what age were you conscious that your family name is not it's in a different level, so to speak, compared to like maybe your classmates or like the people around you?
Well, my father was incarcerated when I was 8 years old, up to the age of 13, and then at 13 I left the country. From 0 to age 8, yeah, I lived in this really huge house. And when I bring my friends over, they go, "Wow, laki ng bahay mo." And I go, "Oh, I thought everybody had a house like that. That it was common, but apparently it wasn't." And I knew that people treated me differently because of that. But that was one of the reasons I really enjoyed my life in the States, because
Mm,
I lived in San Francisco from the age of 13 for about 9 years to age 22. And when I went to San Francisco, I liked it because, yeah, I didn't have many friends, but the friends I had, I knew they were really my friends. They weren't my friends because of money, because I didn't have any. uh, you know, when I was growing up here, it's like that's all anybody ever said to me. Parang yaman mo, ang yaman mo. Okay, what am I supposed to do with that, diba?
yeah.
I didn't choose this, but as I got older, I realized that I can leverage this name to do many different things that will benefit other people. So it's just a matter, but when I was younger, I just felt, what's the deal? Why is that all anybody sees about me? And how do I know that this person is really my friend or not? But the moment my dad got incarcerated, we very quickly found out who our true friends were. It didn't take long
Mm,
because everybody else disappeared. All of the people who were just your friend because you were rich, they're gone. Because if you were our friend during the martial law years, baka ikaw makulong din.
mm,
The government would take a look at you.
mm,
So, it it has its pros, it has its cons. Um, I, uh, I grew up in a culture that looked down at our own language. Uh, it wasn't my fault, because actually Gabby's fault. Because Gabby could speak Spanish when he was young. Okay, my parents both speak fluent Spanish, so they spoke Spanish to Gabby when he was young. But when he went to school, grade 1, di siya marunong mag-English, di siya marunong mag-Tagalog. So hirap na hirap siya. Then my parents decided right then and there, okay, everybody speaks English, which was sad because we could have learned Ilonggo, Spanish,
mm,
Tagalog, and English all at the same time. But because of Gabby not being able to adjust at the time, they made all of us speak English. So my Tagalog was so bad. And I thought growing up that, and I looked down at Tagalog. I thought that was a language for poor people. And I thought that every country had Tagalog. And I would even ask my Mom, what is the Tagalog of the Americans? Or what's the Tagalog of that country? What is their second class language for, because as a little kid, that's what I grew up thinking, which is really sad. But
mm,
uh, when I became a missionary, I was in San Francisco. They sent me back to the Philippines as a missionary. I had to learn how to speak Tagalog. And that's when I really started mixing with people, Filipinos who were not so well off. And it's been a mixed blessing having the name. But I think that what is really important and what I try to impart to my children is, yes, you've had a lot of blessings, you've had a lot of privileges, but uh, it's okay to enjoy it, but it's more important to share it.
mm,
And growing up, even though I had that last name, uh, much of my growing up years here, the 5 years, 5 years with the law, so we didn't have as much. Had a nice house, but we all had to sleep in the same bedroom to save money for aircon. It was like that also before. And I'm number 6 of 7 children. So all I got were clothes that were hand-me-downs. And all my clothes were lau-lau. So when I got new clothes that were just for me, I felt like, wow, this is special, parang all my clothes are usually, gamit na, luma na, And my parents made sure that we didn't grow up feeling like we were really rich. I mean, I went to school in a Ford Sierra. I don't know if you know what a Ford Sierra is.
Okay.
Naabot mo yan?
Hindi, no.
Ford Sierra is the forerunner of the Tamaraw.
Okay.
It's like a Jeep. It's like a Jeep. It's like the back is, the passengers are facing each other. There were no door handles and no windows. The windows were rolled down plastic sheets. Pretty much like a Jeep today. And then the handles didn't have locks. It was just a latch.
Yeah.
Bakal na latch that went like this. So, that's the car we used every day. I had classmates who were loyalists, and their allowance at that time was 50 pesos a week. My allowance was 7 pesos a week. So, parang kahit sabihin nila mayaman ako, parang feeling ko, hindi, malaki lang yung bahay ko. Pero parang in every way else, I didn't really feel rich. And I didn't realize sinadya pala yan ng magulang ko. They really did it on purpose.
Which is good. I think to sort of give you guys, perspective, diba, na I'm curious, if you didn't grow up in your family, what do you think would you be doing, like, in terms of a career or your passion? Would anything be different, do you think?
I think they're really different. I don't know. But to be honest, I can't imagine what I would be like if I were in a different family. Because, I mean, when we went to the States, I wanted to involve in psychology because I was so messed up mentally that I said I want to take psychology to understand myself. So I probably would have ended up there. That's where I was leaning. But magulo kasi ang buhay eh. I can't. Even my dad, I asked my dad, how did you know you were going to work where you work? He said, I have no idea. My dad just told me where to work and I did it. And it happened to me. My dad told me where to work and I did it. So it's hard to say really. But growing up, I wanted to be a professional tennis player, but I just wasn't good enough.
How about in terms of people that you look up to? Is there somebody that you would want to have a chance to maybe to sit down with, for an hour just to be able to pick their brains?
Well, if I could sit down with Jesus Christ, in the flesh, that would be amazing. Because there's so many questions I want to ask him. But with other maybe more normal people, I wouldn't mind having 2 hours again with my dad, because growing up, there's so many questions I have now. Because now I have my own children, and I understand a lot of the things me because I have my own children now, and I would have been very interested to pick his brain and ask him, what he thought or what do you think about this idea and that. And I would have relished the chance to ask him many things that I didn't get to ask him before. Like, my dad kasi, baliktad ako niyan eh. He's not madaldal at all. He doesn't talk. He said any talk more than 15 minutes is too long. So, to get him to talk, it's like pulling teeth talaga. You have to talk to him and he'll answer your questions, but you really have to be, you have to know, you have to have a clear idea in your head what you want to ask us, and be persistent in asking, because he's not talkative. And I would have wanted to ask him so many things about his escape from prison, what he felt like. I would have wanted to ask him a lot of things about his prison prison, what he felt like when he was going through this trial in at work. What was I would have asked him many more times about his own relationship with his dad. So many different things. I would have. I'd love to ask him.
Speaking of fatherhood, how would you describe yourself as a father?
Well, um, let's just say I do my best. Uh, I've had many failings as a dad, um, but I do try my very best. I love my children to death. They're, if I look at my first marriage, which was a failed marriage, um, I don't, I actually don't have any regrets. I'm glad I had that marriage, and one of the bad is I have three children who are just a gift to me. I consider it a privilege to be the father of these three kids because they're amazing. I truly regret my shortcomings as a parent. All the times I lost my temper, all the times I said things that were unfair, or I talk to my son now, and the relationship I have with them is honest enough so that they even tell me, Dad, I was so mad at you before because you're so insensitive. And I go, really? I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was so insensitive. And I try and think back and I go, oh God, I was too wrapped up in my own problems and trials and issues that I was taking it out on them without me even realizing it. And I've learned so much from these kids of mine. I mean, I'm supposed to be their teacher, their guide, their guardian, and their dad. But yes, I every time I sit down with them, I learn something new. I feel like I get so much more from the relationship than they do. Uh, sa music pa lang, di ba? They expose me to TikTok, and I go, "What the heck is that?" And they're constantly teaching me and exposing me to things I have no idea of whatsoever.
Nice.
But
Uh,
I love being a dad. I enjoy it.
nice. That's great to hear. I mean, I have a 4-year-old, and I also love being a dad. So, whenever I get an opportunity to ask like fellow dads, especially those with kids who are a bit older, I always try to get advice. For I know what to expect.
How old is your son? You have a son?
4 years old.
Sorry?
He's 4 years old.
Oh, you have a 4-year-old son. Great.
Yeah,
Just one kid.
yeah, one. Yeah,
Okay. That's a really fun age, 4 years old.
it is. It is. He's starting to be very active, very curious, and he's always like wanting to do different things. So it keeps me on my
Mm.
toes. But it's great. Like what you said. I love being a dad as well. So it's great to connect with somebody who enjoys fatherhood as much as you do. Um,
Yeah.
Switching gears here a little bit. There are three questions that I always ask all my guests before at the end of the towards the end of the show or towards the end of the episode. And these three questions all relate to legacy. The first of the three questions is, knowing everything that you know now at this point in your life, if you had to go back in time to, let's say, um, okay, maybe we can go back to that day when your dad took you out from the bank, and you had, let's say, a minute to talk to younger Ernie back then. What would you say to yourself?
Wow. I did this exercise therapist. She told me, talk to your younger self. And when I first started the exercise, I tried to think of all the warnings I could give my younger self so that I could avoid the heartache, the problems, I would be prepared. And as I started to give myself warnings and tips, I realized that my younger self wouldn't listen to me. My younger self didn't have the life experience I have today so that he would know to listen. If I would tell him, alam mo, wag mo pagtiwalaan yung taong yan. Malabo yan. Sasabihin niya, my younger self would say, parang hindi naman eh. Parang okay naman siya eh. Kasi yan ang exposure niya sa tao na yun. Di ba? Wala naman siyang life experience na malabo yung tao na yun. Di ba? Whether it's a business person or a romantic relationship or what, this guy is not going to listen to me. And I read the younger self is just going to have to learn his lessons the hard way, the way I did. And what I like about that exercise is it taught me how to forgive myself, because I realized I was just doing the best that I could with what I had, with what I knew, with the cape at the time. I didn't have what I have now, but I did the best in what I had back then. Of course, there were things I liked to tell him to do and do differently. But if I really think about it, I actually like where I am right now. So I'm happy with where I am right now, and I'm happy with how things turned out. So I wouldn't really change much. Of course, there's some things that I still have regrets about, but in the end, all of those things still brought me to where I am right now, and I'm very happy with where I am right now.
All right, that's a very great answer. I love what you said about the exercise, sort of making you conclude that you needed to forgive yourself for maybe not knowing better, but it's about understanding that you were doing your best at that time. So I think that's something that's the main thing that I took away from your answer. And that's something I'm gonna apply also to myself. The second to the last question. I mean, you've obviously accomplished a lot. But what else are you looking to accomplish over the next 10 years?
I like that question. It's what I hope. When I think of it, I don't think I can accomplish it, but I'd like to participate in it. And I might get emotional when I'm talking about this, but I wanna see the day when there has been a diaspora of Filipinos going out of our country, leaving the country because there's no money here, there's no jobs here, so they've left. I want to see the day when there is a reverse diaspora. Filipinos are all coming back to our country because we have enough jobs here, we have enough work here, and we have enough money here so that people don't have to be separated anymore from their children and from their families, that they can earn a living here. And I do believe that it can be done if we all do our part. If every single Filipino does their part in the role that they have been given to help our country, I believe it can be done. When I look at our natural resources, if we harness that and we use it to benefit our countrymen, ang layo na mararating natin eh. One of the things my sister is, yes, we have so many malls, but the malls are fueled by money that's coming from abroad, from families that live abroad, their parents, their husband, their wife, and they send the money back home. Okay, that's nice. They're able to buy nice things, but at what price? Our families are growing up without parents, without the guidance of a mom or a dad. And I'm also the executive director of Bantay Bata. And as executive director, I am exposed to things that are unspeakable. Our online sex, we are the online sex capital for pedophiles in the world. And it is distressing to me. And I think that this diaspora has contributed to destroying our families. They go abroad to earn money, they send the money back, the children grow up very, very materialistic, getting money and buying stuff, but they don't have a relationship with their parents. Um, it's tragic, but I just hope that we can change this, and I hope that the change starts with like our farmers. That's the other thing I would like to see. I would like to see the farmers of this country become rock stars. The average age of a farmer now is 58, 57, 58 years old, because every farmer says the same chorus to their son. Anak, paglaki mo, huwag kang magiging katulad ko kasi napakahirap ng buhay ko. Of course, they listen and they don't take up farming because what for? It's a hard life and you're not going to get anywhere. I believe that we need this. The farmers need to become rock stars. Just the same way a chef now is highly regarded. Dati, kusinero lang yan. Pero ngayon, chef. Mataas ang tingin ng tao dyan. Kailangan ganun din ang mangyari sa mga magsasaka natin. We have to help our farmers to become well off. That there is a way for them to earn a living. And I think today's technology and world can make that possible. What's killing our farmers are all of the middlemen because they make all the money. But now that you have the internet, you can take out those middlemen, make the end user happy with the price, and the farmer can also be happier with the price because you've taken out the middlemen who gouge them for all the money. And you and I both know the closer you are to the consumer in the value chain, you make more money.
Yep.
Diba? The more people there are in between the consumer and the producer, the less money that supplier makes. Dami kasing kailangan daanan na toll. But if because of the internet, now you have apps where all of these logistics companies are getting into partnerships, and I'm so happy about it that they're getting into partnerships with farmers. Kasi every day, their logistics companies are sending out goods and delivery of products all over the country. And they're coming back empty, right? So they said, instead of coming back empty, why don't we fill it with goods from the farmers? And then we'll sell it. And it's revenue, additional revenue from them. They weren't going to get revenue from that trip anyway. Now they do. And the farmers are getting their goods sent here fresh. So those are the things I'd like to see happen. I want to see Filipinos coming back. I want to see the farmers becoming rock stars. I want to see our fishermen rock stars, and the common people. Like I know now that there's a technology for converting pump boat bangka engines into solar. So you don't have to buy gas and fuel anymore. They can get this, and it's being done already in Indonesia. This guy told the fishermen there, okay, how much do you spend on fuel a month? Let's say it's 10,000 pesos. Okay, you give me that 10,000 pesos a month, and I'm going to give you this solar energy converter now, and you just pay me for 2 years what you would have paid for in gas, and then that thing is yours, but you get to use it today. So can you imagine, for our tourism industry, it's quiet, and then after 2 years, the guy doesn't have to pay for gas. His fuel consumption is zero. So I believe there are many things going on in our country now that are amazing. I'll give you another example. ABS-CBN Foundation has a property in Iba, Zambales. And this property was bought in order to take care of the Aitas, the Aitas at the foot of Mount Pinatubo when it erupted. Kawawa sila. So we moved them to Iba, Zambales, gave them land, told them to take care of the land so they could live in it and own it and till the land. But over the last 20 years, we are subsidizing it. They're not making money. They're not sustainable. A New Zealand businessman came over and told us there's something about Filipino soil. It is unlike any other soil that we're in the world. The yield and the quality and the yield is different than anywhere in the world. they've tried to mimic it in other parts of the world and they can't. So he's planting here. But the beautiful thing is this businessman, his primary motive is social justice. He really wants to help people. And I'm so happy we have a guy like that. Sabi ko, Lord, paramihin mo ang taong ganito kasi itong kailangan namin. He wants to make money, of course, so that the business is sustainable. But his business model is to hire all the locals and train them and teach them and make sure that their lives improve. They get to send their kids to school. They have money to do that. But what boggles my mind is something I've been hearing more and more often. When we plant things in our soil, it's amazing. I think we are on the verge of just tapping that. We're nowhere near where we should be, but I believe a day is coming when we start to harvest what we have right in our land, in our soil. And hopefully, people don't have to go abroad. They can go abroad to travel, but they don't have to go abroad anymore, away from their families, just to earn a living. So that's my answer to that.
Well, that's a great answer, and I think your passion definitely oozes from that answer. Like it's easy to see that these type of causes are what you're super passionate about, and I wholeheartedly support what you just said about the reversing of the diaspora of Filipinos going out. It's something that we also want to promote with branding in my company. So I think definitely with everyone working together on this goal, it can be done. So before I ask the final question, just wanted to acknowledge you again, Ernie, and thank you for your time and acknowledge you for the passion that you have to promote Filipino tourism, to promote our natural resources, and this thing that you just talked about in terms of sort of empowering our farmers and our fishermen to be global players. So the very final question is, how do you, Ernie Lopez, want to be remembered?
That's really gonna make me cry. I guess if the highest compliment that I could be paid by anyone is if I'm going to be remembered, I just God bless that question. That's a tough one. Okay, it's I bet you make a lot of people cry with that. I know what I want to say, but I know that I might just fall apart as I'm saying it. For me, the highest compliment that can be given to me, and how I'd like to be remembered is when they remember me, they just say, he follows Jesus. That's it. He's a follower of Jesus. His life is the way he is. He is the way he is. His kids are the way he is. His business is the way he is. Just none. He's a lover and follower of Jesus. That's it.
All right. That's a beautiful answer. And on that note, thank you so much, Ernie. Thank you for your time, and thank you for agreeing to come to the show. I really
Thank you,
appreciate
Kendrick. Thank you. Thank you for the platform to share these things.
Nice. Thank you.
And please pray for our franchise and the welfare of our 11,000 employees.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review the show on iTunes. It will help more people discover the show. You can also share a screen cap of the show on your social media accounts. Make sure to tag me and let me know which part of the episode you like or didn't like. All feedback is certainly welcome, so feel free to reach out to me on Instagram @KendrickCo to let me know what topics you'd like to be covered next and who you want to hear or learn from in future episodes. Until next time, do the work you want to see done, because life's too short to not be creating your life's work.